So we have this debate always, should we use Flow, should we use Apex? It's not up to admins usually, it's not up to developers. It's a strategic architecture decision that you take. And sometimes you take this decision as a developer or as an admin, but that just means that you're doing architecture tasks. And that's okay, because that's also part of the job. So we have to do the architecture, of course. How can you write code without doing architecture? You need both, right? So you can see this diagram. And we see here low code, and the more we go to the right side, the more pro code we are getting. And you can see that pro code, basically with Apex triggers, everything is possible. And that's true. And this is one of the biggest upsides of triggers. You can, in theory, do basically everything that Salesforce allows you to. On the flows, on the other side, you can't do everything. You can run into some problems. You might not. For your type, for your use case, might be fine. But for other use cases, might be not fine, right? So for example, let us have a look at the first one. So same record field updates. When you want to update the same record, right? The same record field updates on the after save, it's not ideal. And that's true. So basically, what is a flow? Flow is a programming language. People think about flow as something else. No, it's a visual programming language. So the problem with the visual programming languages is that they are visual. It's nothing new. So those programming languages, they've been existing for a very long time, and Flow is just one of them. I wanted more to speak about this one. So high performance batch press. This is one of the arguments whenever I see on LinkedIn, for example, people are like, I can do this now with the Flow. Ooh, why do you need your Apex? And I usually give this example. And this is one of the benefits of Apex, is how quick it is and how performant it is. If you really have batch, like a lot of batches that you need to process on a regular basis, for example, implementing it with Flow would be a very strange decision. I mean, you could, right? But it's a very strange decision. That's why they write here not ideal. So it's in theory, it's possible to some extent. It's possible limited extent, but it's not good, right? So if you and by this batch, we're only speaking here about the record triggered, right? So we're not speaking about like regular batches and batchable code, but basically everything that is more complex in the logic, in the calculation itself. Really frequent example. You have a complex formula-like calculation that you have. You need to calculate forecast on the opportunities based on the next like 12 months, and you involve like different records. You take accounts, you get contacts, you take other custom object like training, for example, and you calculate forecast. This is something that would be possible to do with the Flow, but it would be painful. Why would you ever just punish yourself and do it with the Flow? This is what I want to also emphasize. I don't say that, use Apex all the time, don't use Flow at all. I think the biggest use case for Flow would be when you have a record, it's getting triggered, and then you just need to update another record. That's awesome. That's quite good. Okay, go and use Flow for that. So basically, the way we can summarize it, what are you trying to solve? Like, what is your main thing that you're trying to solve with deciding for one or another solution? Do you want to have performance? Do you want to have good troubleshooting? Do you want to have orchestration? Do you want to have good maintainability? If, for example, maintainability is not a problem for you, which can be the case for a lot of different orgs, right? That's fine. It's gonna work for you. No need to write Apex. But if you have a org with thousands of users and you want to write code that will be there in the 5-10 years, Flow not always the best idea. And we're coming basically to the most important. It all comes down to who do you have in your company. So if you have a lot of developers, they will just cry if you make them implementing flows. Because I know as a developer myself, I know because flows, they have the same logic as programming, but the writing of this logic is very painful. So you have to drag and drop. It's very unsophisticated, versus admins or someone who doesn't know how to code will probably enjoy Flow much more than writing code. So basically, we can argue here for a very long time. What should you do? It's a best practice, blah, blah, blah. But also it's important to keep in mind, who do you have on the team? Because if you have a team of developers, well, flows are probably not the best choice. And if you don't have any developers, then flows are the best. It all comes down back to the people. So if you go and read this article, it's really good, it goes much more in depth. So yeah,